All right, let's talk about something fascinating. It's the story of a tech brand that for the longest time just seemed like it could do no wrong. I mean, they built a whole empire on trust and what people told their friends. And that brand? We're talking about Synology.
You know, if you were into tech at all, maybe building out a home lab or even running a small business, you absolutely knew the name. When someone asked about network-attached storage, a NAS, Synology wasn't just one of the choices. For so many people, it was the choice. Period.
It was literally the "don't even think, just buy this" recommendation you'd see all over the forums or hear from IT guys. And the reason why was super simple, right? Their stuff just worked. It was reliable, the software was incredible, and the community behind it, oh, they were fiercely loyal. I mean, this was a reputation that other companies could only dream of having.
So, that's what makes this so wild. It really begs the question, what on earth happened? How do you go from being the undisputed king, the gold standard, to watching your most diehard fans not just leave, but actively plot their escape? It's a crazy story about brand loyalty and what happens when you break that trust.
Okay, so to really get why people are so upset, we've got to go back a bit. We need to understand the incredible reputation they built from the ground up. Let's break down exactly why everyone was recommending Synology.
See, the thing you have to understand is that it was never, ever just about the box. It was the whole experience. Their software, the Disk Station Manager, or DSM, was this amazing blend of powerful features but still super user-friendly. The hardware itself? Rock solid. And if you ever got stuck, there was this massive, helpful community ready to jump in. All of that together, that's what built this incredible foundation of trust.
But all that goodwill, all that trust, it's now being put to the ultimate test. And it all comes down to one single, very controversial decision they made. This was the move that basically lit the fuse on the whole thing.
And the change was, well, it was dramatic. It used to be all about freedom. You could go out, buy whatever hard drives you wanted, Seagate, WD, didn't matter, shove them in the box, and you were good to go. But now, on their newer stuff, Synology is basically building a walled garden. They're strong-arming you into buying their expensive, rebranded drives, and if you don't, they'll actually block features on your system. It's a total 180.
And look, this wasn't just some small annoyance. For a lot of their core users, this was an absolute deal breaker. I mean, this quote from a longtime fan just nails it. It was never really about the money. It was about the principle of it. They felt like their control was being ripped away.
So, what's the fallout? What happens when you tick off your biggest fans? Well, they don't just go post angry comments on a forum. Nope, they start voting with their wallets. And here's exactly how that's shaking out.
We're seeing people basically scatter in three main directions. First, a ton of folks are going the DIY route, building their own NAS from scratch using software like TrueNAS or Unraid. Second, you have people keeping a close eye on new competitors like UGREEN. And third, and this is the really ironic part, people are actually going out and buying older, used Synology gear just to avoid these new restrictions.
And you can totally see why the DIY path is so tempting, right? It's the complete opposite of where Synology is heading. You get absolute freedom over every single component, you have total control of the operating system, and a lot of the time, you end up with a way more powerful machine for less money. It's like they're reclaiming the very values they feel Synology threw away. And check out this quote, because it really shows you how smart and strategic the community is being about this. This isn't just people getting mad and throwing their stuff out the window. It's a carefully planned exit. They're literally buying themselves a 3 to 5 year runway, just so they have time to find a proper alternative. They are planning long-term to get out of the Synology ecosystem for good.
Well, all of this has done is expose this huge split in the user base, a kind of philosophical divide that's always been there but never this obvious.
Basically, you've got two groups of people. First, you've got Camp Just Works. These are the folks who love Synology because it's simple. They want a box that's like an appliance. You plug it in, set it up, and forget it exists. But then you have Camp My Way. These are the tinkerers, the power users, the sysadmins. For them, control and flexibility are everything. And by locking things down, Synology has clearly picked a side. They're catering to Camp Just Works, and in the process, they're pushing Camp My Way right out the door.
And hey, let's be fair. There's a totally valid argument from the Just Works crowd. Not everybody wants to be a sysadmin in their spare time, For them, the NAS is a tool to get a job done, not a weekend hobby. But here's the kicker for Synology. A massive part of their reputation, all that word-of-mouth praise, it came from the other camp, the tinkerers.
And this creates a huge problem for the company, strategically speaking.
I mean, if you're going to deliberately get rid of one chunk of your audience to go after another, you better be damn sure you know who you're targeting. And right now, that feels a little confusing.
So the official story seems to be that they're trying to move up market. They want to sell to big enterprise customers where locking you into their hardware and software is kind of the norm. And okay, on paper, that makes some sense. But in reality, it's not that simple.
In fact, IT pros have a special name for this kind of strategy. And trust me, it's not a compliment. They call it ubiquity-level enterprise. What that means is you're trying to act like a big, serious enterprise brand, with all the restrictions and high prices, but you're not actually providing the ironclad 24/7 support that real enterprise clients absolutely require.
And that right there is the million-dollar question, isn't it? If you kick out the power users who made you famous in the first place, but you're also not quite good enough for the real big league enterprise customers, who's left? You're just kind of stuck in this weird middle ground, not really making anyone happy. So when you boil it all down, what's this really about? It's not the hardware, it's not even the software. At the end of the day, it all comes back to one simple, powerful idea. This is the absolute heart of it. The anger was never really about hard drives. It was about what forcing you to buy their hard drives meant. It was a complete betrayal of the unwritten rule, the promise of flexibility and user control that the entire Synology brand was built on for years. And man, this last quote from someone watching all this unfold just hits so hard. It really captures how serious this is. When the people who used to sing your praises are not just leaving, but are mapping out their escape plan for the next few years, yeah, that's way more than just a problem. What it boils down to is a feeling of being alienated. That open, flexible platform that they invested their time and money into, the one they told all their friends to buy, it now feels like a lockdown, walled garden. One that's designed to squeeze more money out of them instead of giving them more value. It's a massive change in the whole relationship they had with the company. And so, we're left with this one big hanging question. We all know that trust takes forever to build, but you can lose it in an instant, and it's incredibly hard to get back. Sure, Synology could walk back some of these policies, but can they ever undo that feeling of betrayal? I don't know the answer, but you can bet the entire tech world is watching to see how they try.